Welcome to this gentle level class. If you have it, it might be helpful to have your bolster or towel or rolled up blanket for today, and if possible, a strap or some kind of towel or something you can use that's long. You can use as a strap. Since things are a little chaotic right now, I thought I would take a bit of an Ayurvedic approach to this class and focus on calming Vata. If you're familiar with Vata, it's airy, spacey, stress, anxiety, insomnia, constipation, dry skin, all that kind of stuff happens with increased Vata in the mind. The mind races. So that's part of my focus for this class, is to calm Vata. I'm also going to touch on some of the yamas and niyamas, basically 10 sets of principles in yoga philosophy. And one way I'm going to start this class different than normal is breath after movement to get a little loosened up. So we'll start in a seated position first. So you might want to sit propped up on something. If your back is stiff and you find you're hunching, sitting propped up can be really helpful. Get your hips settled. Find a neutral spine. Roll the shoulders back and down. And then just start to rolling one shoulder up, back, and down, and then the other. Making this kind of figure 8 with your shoulder blades. And you can add movement in the waist and spine too, and kind of turn side to side as one shoulder goes back. And now just relax, reach your arms out and up, and then out and down. You can start to tune into your breath if you're ready, but just for now we're getting movement in the body to make it easier to focus more on the breath. One more time. Release your arms down to your sides. And rest your hands wherever's comfortable for you. Close your eyes. And find stillness now as you start to bring breath control into the practice, with the chest lifted, shoulders relaxed. Scan for tension in the facial muscles. Notice if you might be able to let go of even just a fraction of what you notice. If the brow line is tense, it can be helpful to lift the eyebrows, separate them a little bit, and then lower them down slowly. The jaw is clenched, unclench it. Bring awareness to your natural breath rhythm. Keep the lips closed gently and notice how you're breathing this afternoon. If it's fast or slow, shallow or deep. And start to gradually deepen your inhales, expanding the belly out gently. And slow down your exhales, lengthening them out. Relax the abdomen as you breathe in so the lungs can fill up and the diaphragm has room to move down. And slowly exhale. At the bottom of the exhale, start to lightly draw the navel in toward the spine, pressing that last bit of air out. Relax the belly as you breathe in. And slowly exhale, drawing the navel lightly in. Take one more breath cycle, connecting to the slow rhythm. Once you finish your next exhale, gently open your eyes. And if you're sitting cross-legged, switch the cross of your legs. If you're sitting propped up on a bolster, you might want to prop something under your hands if you have anything available. I'm moving it off to the side because it's not comfortable for me anymore. Bring your hands in front of you. As you breathe in, lengthen your spine. Exhaling, bend at the hips. Try not to bend at the waist. And go into a seated forward fold. You might have blocks under your hands. Maybe your forearms are on blocks. Shoulders relaxed. Let your head hang a bit. In this forward fold, you can start to bring the Ujjayi breath in if you use it, or if you would like to. It's a gentle constriction to the muscles in the back of the throat, similar to what you would do if you were fogging up a window, except your lips stay closed. You'll hear your breath, and it'll also start to bring heat into the body with that simple constriction in the throat. We'll be here for one more full breath cycle, feeling the expansion as you breathe in. And slowly exhaling. On your inhale, lift your head, walk your hands back in, sit back up straight. And then we'll come to the hands and knees for tabletop.
If you have a blanket or something, you might want to put it on your knees if you just don't like the firmness of the floor. And you can set up for cat-cow, bring movement into the spine, and linking movement to the breath. You can go to the fists if you're not ready in palms. And inhale, slowly lift your head and tail, lowering the belly. Exhale, slowly round your spine, tucking chin and tail. Inhale again, slowly extend the spine. Exhale, slowly flex it. Do 2 more rounds on your own, moving with your breath. Or whatever range of motion suits your practice. And that's one benefit to not having anybody else around you in your practice is you're less tempted to give a damn what anybody else thinks when they look at what you're doing. So you finish the next exhale, come back to a neutral spine. And then we're going to sit back onto the feet. If you have something to put between your feet that might be more comfortable for your knees.
Right arm's going to go across the body. Left arm's going to go underneath it and hug your upper arm towards your chest. As you're doing this, try to keep your shoulders relaxed. Keep your spine upright and lifted. And breath steady. One more full breath in. And exhale, slowly relaxing the arms. Shake them out if you want. And then do a counter pose for mainly the right arm, but both might like it. Reach out and back, open up your chest. Breathe deeply. And then relax your arms down. If your knees need a break, you can stand up on them for a moment or stay there if you want. Left arm across the chest now, right hand to the bottom. Hug your left arm against your chest. And the stretch you might be feeling is in posterior deltoids. Some of you might be feeling it in the traps. Notice your breath. And now release your arms. Shake them out if you need to. And then once again, open up your chest, reach out and back. And then release your arms down. All right, we're going to come back into a seated position. If you started out the class on a bolster or blanket, it's not a bad idea for this next portion. Starting in staff with your legs out in front of you. It's not important that your knees are straight in this one. It's more important that your spine is neutral. That's why propping up your butt on something can be helpful. So just take a moment with ankles flexed, quads engaged, chest lifted, shoulders back and down, and maybe pushing hands down next to your hips. Notice where there's effort in this pose, if any. Now, keep in mind how your left leg feels. Keep it active with the quads engaged and the toes pulling back toward you. And then bend your right knee. Give yourself at least a fist width, if not more, between foot and thigh. And then bring your right fingertips behind you with your thumb pushing down as well. Use that hand or that arm as a kickstand. Lift your chest and start with left hand at the right knee. Deep breath in. And then exhaling, turn at the waist to the right. Trying not to collapse the ribs down, not to let the spine slump. And of course, coming back to the breath. Twists are helpful for pacifying Vata, that spacey energy, anxiety, insomnia, brought on by imbalances. One more deep breath in. And exhaling, release the twist and drop your right knee out to the side, this time with sole of left foot against the inner thigh. You don't need a strap or towel for this, but if you have one, you can use it and wrap it around your left foot if you want to. You don't have to have anything around the foot though. You can just rest your hands down. Lift your chest, lengthen from the sits bones all the way up to the crown of your head, and then turn at the waist so you face the straight leg. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, bring your navel toward the thigh, chest not down but forward, and then hands down wherever they go without hunching the back over, hopefully. This is Janu Sirsasana. Some of you will be feeling the right hip stretching, others the left hamstrings. A lot of you will be feeling both places stretching. One of the yamas, going back to yoga philosophy, the first of the yamas is ahimsa. It means non-harming, non-violence. Even more meaningful right now, I think, as hopefully we're continuing our home practice, keeping in mind that pushing to the point of pain or holding the breath doesn't suit us, and it's actually a practice against ahimsa. But even more so when we have to go out to the grocery store, it can be hard to remember to practice non-violence. Let's sit back up and then slide your left leg out to the side for Parvrita Janu Sirsasana. I like to take my right heel a little closer to my groin. Rest your left hand on thigh or shin and reach the right arm up with your palm facing to the left. Lift the sides of the waist, not the shoulder blades. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, turn toward bent knee. Tilt your spine toward the straight leg, sliding your hand down towards shin or ankle. I tend to see this quite a bit in my classes, so try to wrap the bicep in toward your cheek. Even if it doesn't get as close as mine is, maybe a little more up, you're still getting more stretch in the right lats and intercostal side body, those QL, that area, than you would be if your tight lats keep your elbow bent back. Now reach the right arm up, sit back up straight, breathing in. Exhale, bring your arm down. Shake it out if you need to. And a common pose I do after that in my classes a lot is bring your right hand next to you. Point your left toes, which you can't see behind D, and reach the left arm up and over. Try not to slump into the right shoulder. Some of you might stay here, others might want to lift up the hips. It's not quite a gentle option, but a lot of my regular gentles have been building up a lot of strength lately, so you might like to do it. Go ahead and bring your arms down, sit back up. Left hand to the back of the knee. Bend both knees together and take a moment there to let your hips go back to neutral, more or less. So now the other side, keep your left knee bent and straighten out the right leg. Give yourself enough distance between foot and thigh so that when you go into the twist, you're not doing it from the hips when the knee drops out. Left fingertips behind you, right hand to the knee. Lift your chest, breathing in. Exhale, keep the spine lifted as you turn to the left. Your shoulders relaxed. Keep breathing. A lot of people like to do this if you ended up with your arm outside the thigh. Make sure you're not pushing in the forearm and hyperextending the elbow. Your upper arm outside there, not here. Breathe in deeply. Exhale, release your twist. Drop the left knee out to the side for Janu Shirsasana. Maybe wiggle a little bit to get more rooted, more centered. And if you want to use something around the foot, you can. Otherwise, start with hands on the thigh. Lengthen the spine, breathing in. Exhale, turn toward the straight leg and bend over it. Not rounding over, but chest going forward and tailbone pressing back. Let go of the desire to go as far as possible and hold on to the instinct to find comfort in your pose. One more breath here. And then on your inhale, take your time to sit back up. Slide your right leg out to the side. And maybe take your left heel a little closer to the groin. The more bent the left knee is in this position, the healthier the knee actually is. Now let your right hand rest on your right thigh and reach the left arm up. As you breathe in, again, shoulders don't lift, rib cage does. It's subtle. Exhale, turn toward bent knee and tilt toward the straight leg. If you're tilting and the elbow starts bending out, maybe reach a little more forward of your head than up behind it. Some of you might even want or like to turn the neck looking underneath the left arm. And this is an option too if your arm's tired. Inhaling, reach your left arm up, sit back up straight. And as you exhale, bring your arm down, maybe shake it out. Now lean to your left onto that hand. Point your right toes and reach your right arm up and over. Watch that you don't sink into the left shoulder. Option is to bring the right foot flat, go to the left shin and lift your hips up. Be mindful of the left shoulder, that's the most at risk in this option. And I'll go back down. Right hand under knee and hug both your knees together. Take a moment there to rest. If you'd like, you can bring your forehead down toward your knees. All right, let's come to tabletop now if you're ready for it. We're going into a low lunge with the right foot forward, so if you don't have blocks, it might be easier to just stand up on the knees first, or even if you do have blocks, and then step it. We're gonna be upright anyway, so more of a kneeling position than an actual low lunge where your hips are dropped forward. Reach your arms out and up, open up the chest, breathe in. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart with your thumbs against your sternum. Without lifting shoulders, lift the rib cage, breathing in. Again, that's subtle. And as you exhale, use the core muscles pulling in toward the spine to turn to the right. When you're doing this rotation, a couple things that tend to happen is the hips do it for you, so the knee kind of drops out. Try to avoid that. And also the arms do the movement instead of the obliques in the core. So thumbs at sternum, hips and knees facing the front of the mat. Keep breathing. Twists are also good for detoxifying because the pumping action of the squeezing of the internal organs and the lungs expanding and deflating creates kind of a pumping action that brings out the organs. One more deep breath. And then exhaling, release your twist, release the arms, and go back to either standing on the knees or tabletop, whatever's easier. Before we switch sides, I'm going to give you guys the option for a few breaths to go into either child's pose, which is dropping the hips back toward the feet. Knees can be wide apart. A lot of people like that option. And then most people will need to prop something under their head, whether it's forearms, a bolster under the forearms, and just let yourself relax there. Downward dog is the other option, which I'm not demonstrating because this is a gentle class and I don't know who's here. Whatever you're in, reconnect to your breath control. Satya is the second of the yamas that is basically truthfulness. One way that I suggest to my students to practice truthfulness in their asana classes is to occasionally be checking in with the physical and emotional sensations throughout your practice and just acknowledge them. Satya, truthfulness. It's the acknowledgement of reality. Okay, come back up to tabletop again. We're going into a low lunge with the left foot forward. Bring your hands to your heart. Bring your thumbs to your sternum. Lengthen the spine, take a breath in. Exhale, twist to the left. Rotating at the waist. Keeping the pelvis facing the front of the mat. Thumbs at center of the chest. One more deep breath. And then as you exhale, release the twist again. Release your arms, maybe shake them out. And then either go to tabletop or push off the front foot to go back to the knees. And then once again, we'll meet in either child's pose, or if you have downward dog in your practice, you're welcome to do that.
Let's come back into tabletop again.
And then we're going back into a lunge, but this time we're actually going to go into a low lunge. So instead of that kneeling position, if it's helpful, go up to the knees, step your right foot forward. And then this time you can start to let the hips drop forward. Be mindful of what goes on with that right knee. If it goes so far forward that the front heel lifts, that's going to damage your knee down the road, so avoid that. You might need to take your left leg further back. And your hands or forearms can rest on the right thigh. If you want to continue with the calming, Vata pacifying theme, you can make this into more of a forward fold by resting over your leg. Notice your breath. And now take your time to come back upright if you're folded forward at all. Maybe push your hands against the thigh and then come back into a kneeling position. From there, back to hands and knees. Stand on the knees first, maybe. And then once you're there, we're going to take the right foot back with the toes to the floor. You can be on the fists if you prefer. And then the right foot's going to turn sideways. with the foot parallel to the short end of the mat. Spin your left foot outside of the mat. And this might be where you stay. If you want, you can just kind of go to the right fingertips on the mat and start turning your torso to the side. If you'd like to reach your arm up and toward the ceiling, you're welcome to. That's a little more work, so do what's good for your body. Be mindful of any shoulder issues. All right, let's go back now to both hands on the floor. Back to both knees. And then again, either rest in child's pose, or if you want to do anything else for the next few breaths, feel free to. Reconnect to your pranayama. And then we'll meet once again, either in tabletop or standing on the knees for the other side. Bring your left foot forward. And then start to let the hips drop forward and down, being mindful that the knee doesn't bring all your weight into the toes. And try to keep your left knee also not buckling in or out. You can stay upright or make it more calming by folding over your leg. Notice the breath. Acknowledge your truth. Notice if you're feeling any discomfort or pain. What can you do about it besides ignore it? One more breath cycle in this lunge. And then take your time to come back upright if you're folded forward. Push with the front foot to go into more of a kneeling. That'll take some of this, that'll release the right hip flexors first, then go back to all fours. From the hands and knees, we're going to make our way down to the belly. Some people like to go down to the forearms first and then crawl the knees back. Another way that's a little more challenging is to go from sort of a reverse push-up on the knees. You bend the elbows straight back, brushing them against the ribs, and lower down that way. Once you're down, find a position that's comfortable for your head. I like to cross forearms and rest my head on them. If you prefer to turn to a cheek, that's fine too. And then bend the knees so your feet face up. And windshield wiper your feet side to side to loosen up the hip joints even more. Samtosha is one of the niyamas, and that basically is a word for contentment. And it's difficult to be content when you're not practicing ahimsa and satya, when you're being harmful to yourself or others, or when you're ignoring truth, running from it, avoiding it. Bring the legs to stillness and bring your feet to the floor, and then go up to your forearms. So your elbows are right underneath your shoulders, setting up for Sphinx. And this one, the legs are usually, or the feet are a little bit wider than your hips. Let the tops of your feet rest on the mat. And this isn't a passive pose. You're not just laying here on your belly. It should be very active to support certain muscular ligatures. Push your hips down. You should feel your glutes contract, maybe. Push the top of your feet down, which might make the knees lift, and you might feel your quads contract that way. So your whole body right now, what we just made active, is from about the waist down. Now pull the shoulders back, chest forward, and belly in. So everything is very active. Your quads are contracted along with the glutes. Your trapezius muscles and lats are pulling the shoulder blades back and down. helping the chest expand. One more deep breath in Sphinx. And then as you exhale, come down and rest. Maybe cross your arms and rest on them. Reconnect to your breath control. Now bring your hands under your shoulders. You might like to take the legs closer together again. It'll be easier on your lower back as you push to all fours. Push hands and knees down. Try to lift the hips first. I like to see all the groans and funny faces on my students' faces when I make them do this. So I miss this right now. Hips first, then the chest. It's a lot harder, but better for your back. And then come to a seated position so you can grab whatever you can use to prop yourself up, whether it's bolster, rolled up blanket, or towel, something fairly thick. And then take it parallel to the long edge of the mat. And then sit not too close to the bolster, because if you're right up against it, it'll probably make your lower back arch too much, so a little bit away. So when you do lie down on it, more or less the edge of the bolster is supporting the bottom of your rib cage, maybe a little above it. And then just kind of drape your upper back, your thoracic spine over the bolster. If you position yourself correctly, if you take your fingers and put them at the bottom of your ribs, that area and maybe a little bit below it, right around there, should feel like it's expanding with the bolster elevating it. And then arms either by your sides or out a little. Have palms facing up though, so your chest is allowed to open. Some people like to extend their legs to the floor. Others find that aggravates the lower back, so keep your knees bent if you need to, with the feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes if you haven't already. And bring your awareness back to the breath. Feel the natural expansion as you breathe in, first in the abdomen and then eventually in the rib cage. Slowly exhale, feeling parts of your body getting heavier as you exhale slowly. Relax the abdomen as you breathe in, letting the belly expand first and then the ribs. And slowly exhale, feel yourself get a little heavier. Maybe your shoulders, maybe your lower back, maybe your jaw. We'll be here for a bit longer. Keep focusing on your breath. By doing some of these restorative poses, we're able to practice one of the yamas, which is brahmacharya, sometimes known as conservation of the senses. By focusing on the breath, we bring in prana, which is life force, to help rebuild energy and strength, replenishing what's been depleted. And we'll be here for 2 more full breath cycles. Feeling the expansion in the abdomen and then eventually the ribs. And slowly exhaling. And at the bottom of your next exhale, we're going to start to come out of it. So options that I like, usually I like to just wiggle my way down so that my head is a little more propped by the bolster. Sometimes I'll just roll off of it to my side. Some of my students like to lift their head, which I don't recommend, but if you want to, you can. Just sit up. I prefer to roll to my side for a moment. Now bring your hand to the floor and press yourself gently up to a seated position. Prop yourself up on whatever you might need to. We're going to do a couple more forward folds and then a calming pranayama before our shavasana. Bring your legs out in front of you with your ankles flexed. Lift up your chest and then reach your arms up. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, bend at the hips. Try not to hunch your back over and just bring your hands down wherever they go. If you're propped on a bolster, you might, if you have blocks, you can put hands on blocks where you can just rest them on your legs. Just make sure you're not pushing against the knees if the knees are up at all. So we don't want to push on the knees to bend backwards of how they're designed to. Focus on controlling the breath. With less room in the front for expansion, you might feel the back body expanding more on your inhales, maybe even the side ribs. And remember, it's not about how far you go. After a few breaths in many poses, you might find that your body is able to release into the pose a little more if you haven't been trying to force it into it. Deep, full breaths in. And long, slow exhales. If you've been sinking in enough to let your head drop without hunching your back a lot, go ahead. Now on your next inhale, take your time to sit back up. Bend your knees. And then drop them out to the sides with the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana. You can put blocks under your outer thighs if your hips need a signal from the brain that they're protected. Grab ankles or shins. Expand your chest, take a breath in. And then exhaling, bend again at the hips. Bringing hands down in front of you. Feeling the stretch in the hips and the inner thighs. You might still be using the Ujjayi breath here. Listen to the sound of it if you are, to help keep the mind focused on what you're doing, on the present moment. That can be another really helpful tool with what we're going on right now, because we're having to deal with things as they come at us so quickly that it's hard to remember to breathe. So when you find yourself stressed out, especially now, just take a moment to check in on your breath. One more full breath cycle in Baddha Konasana. And then on your inhale, take your time to sit back up. Once you are up, bring your knees together. Take a moment to let your hips neutralize out of that opening. And then we're going to practice a pranayama that's called Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. And this is a really calming breath. It balances out the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. It's from a scientific standpoint. Find a seated position. It doesn't matter how your legs are, as long as you're comfortable. And if you prefer, you can scoot all the way, you can scoot back against a wall and lean against that. That might be even more comfortable. A lifted upright spine is a big goal here. We're going to take the right hand, first and second finger bend in, turn it towards your face, and the ring finger closes off left nostril, thumb closes off right. We're going to breathe in and out, back and forth, like an arc, alternating nostrils. Left nostril closed off with ring finger, exhale out the right. Keep the right open and inhale through the right. Close off the right and exhale out the left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Feel free to close your eyes. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Continue on your own. Once you've finished your exhale, your next exhale out the right nostril, return your hands to your lap and come back to your natural breath rhythm for a few rounds. Feel the belly expand as you breathe in. Slowly exhale. At the bottom of your next exhale, if you're sitting on anything, scoot off of it. We're gonna do an inversion or inverted staff if you know it. A lot of you I know like to do it with legs up the wall, so feel free to move your mat over to a wall if you have one around. If you have anything on your mat, you can move it off to the side. And when you lie down on your back, you're welcome to bring your hands behind you to support yourself and lie down that way. Or add a little core work, reaching the arms forward, coming down one vertebra at a time. There will be a flexion in the spine as you come down. It's like you're slowly unflexing it. And just take a moment to rest once you are down. Let your back be heavy. Now take your knees up to your chest, hug them to your chest. Feel free to gently rock side to side if you'd like. Come back to stillness if you're rocking. Bring your arms by your sides and lift your legs straight up over your hips, coming into inverted staff. Keep the ankles flexed, feet together, sacrum rooted down into the ground, along with the shoulder blades and lower back. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And try to find a sense of balance between effort and ease in this pose. There's a lot of muscular effort in the legs squeezing together and pressing heels up, tail down. There's a lot of core engagement, a lot of back engagement. But we want to also try to maintain ease in the breath. Ease in the jaw. Softness in the brow line. One more slow breath in. And as you exhale, bend your knees down to your chest. If you're up against the wall, you're welcome to stay there throughout Shavasana if you want, because that's what we're heading toward. Bring your feet to the floor. And then extend your legs all the way down to the mat, getting set up for Shavasana, the final pose. You might want to take a moment to get comfortable, wiggling yourself around a little bit. Have your palms facing up with your arms a foot or two out from your hips. Relax your pelvis and your thighs. Relax the muscles of your face. And I'm going to lead out Shavasana with a mantra. I've been including this a lot lately. It's a Purnamada mantra. Basically means that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. That's the really short gist. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Just lie there still and relaxed. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring movement back into your fingers and toes. Reach your arms overhead and stretch your whole body.
Bend your knees and gently roll over to your most comfortable side and let your whole body rest. And when you're ready, gently press back up into a seated position. Bring your hands to your heart center. Close your eyes. And I'll close with the Guru mantra like usual. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Akanda Mandala Karam Vyaptam Ena Chara Charam Tatparam Darshitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The light in me honors the light in all of you, even though I can't see it right now. Namaste. I heard you say it back though. Thanks for joining me, guys.